Sunday, the Houston Cougars women's basketball team had their biggest win of the season. They went up, or I guess technically they went down to Tampa, and they beat the South Florida Bulls, who were number 24 in the AP poll heading into the matchup. They were undefeated in conference play. They were 11-0 heading into the game. I believe they were 22-4 overall heading into the matchup. And I mean, give credit to the Cougars. They went in there. They punched the Bulls in the mouth first. They were able to really, it never seemed like the Bulls were comfortable in the first half with the defense that has become the signature calling card for Ron Huey when it comes to their full court pressure. It never seemed like they were able to kind of get into rhythm until the second half. And of course, when it comes to Houston, you got to start with Layla Blair, who she was just on fire in that game, especially in the first half. She finished with 30 points overall against the Bulls. What stood out to you about that victory for Houston? Like I said, their biggest win of the season, and now comfortably at second in the American Athletic Conference at 7-3.
That's the team that I expected to see throughout the entire duration of the season. I wasn't surprised because in the first game, I feel like they should have beat South Florida. Looking at both rosters, I think they're a better team than South Florida. They have more talent than South Florida. So for Houston, really it's just about putting it all together. And outside of Layla, of course, you start with her. She had a big game. But what stood out to me about Layla, not only did she have a big game with her shot selection, when she had it going, she still didn't take bad shots. She made smart decisions to make passes to other people to get them involved. And so the difference between that game and I think going forward, they need other production, primarily Brittany Onyesha. They need her to make shots. It's apparent that she makes shots. When she makes shots, Houston's a better team because it's been a lot of games where Layla's had big games, Tierra's had big games, but Houston still lose because they don't have that the depth of scoring from other players, to consistency of players scoring to help kind of fill out the void. And so Tierra had a really good game. Layla, of course, had a big game, but we're accustomed of seeing those two have games. But I think Brittany Onyesha is the key. I mean, she's such a streaky shooter. Houston needs her to make shots. But not only that, she made good shots. She made smart shot selections. She knocked down 3 threes, but she made 2 drives, pull up off the dribble shots that really, really was impressive as well. And then Bria Patterson, when she's aggressive and making shots as well, Houston is a better team. But overall, I think the defense, of course, stands out. They're able to turn South Florida over and play their style of defense. And what I like about Coach Huey in this team is it's not just one press. They have 4 or 5 different presses, and they give you so many different looks in that press that it keeps you off balance and it keeps you on edge of when the trap is coming or when they're going to do certain things to speed you up defensively, but offensively, they just need more consistency from their role players. I think their 2 stars with Layla and Tierra, they complement each other well, and you're going to get a good game from either one of them on a game-to-game basis. One game it might be Layla, or like over the last 2 weeks, she's been on a stellar pace. And I think the game is slowing down for her. I think she's seeing the floor better. She's making smarter decisions. She's reading pick and roll coverages even better. And she's not really relying on the 3-ball as much. I know she's making it at a high clip, but she must become a better intermediate scorer because oftentimes that 3-point might be falling, but you still need to be able to knock mid-range shots, your floaters, get to the free throw line, or make plays for others like she did in that last game. But I think they continue to the pace of where they are. They need those role players, those others continue to play well.
When it comes to that game specifically, and like you said, that's something that was highlighted in the TV broadcast of how many different type of full court pressure packages they run on defense, which forced the Bulls. I think they said they had to practice a similar 4 to 5 different press breaks just to be able to be prepared for Houston. I think that's an interesting wrinkle that I think it makes this Houston team very, very dangerous come the American Athletic Conference tournament. Now, real quick before we move on to that tournament specifically, another one of those key pieces, Tatiana Hill, she was in foul trouble against the Bulls, but it seemed like she is a key piece for Houston's defense.
She's a huge piece, not only for the defense, for the offense as well. With her ability to offensive rebound, the way she set screens to get Layla and Tierra, even Brittany open, that's very important. And not only that, defensively, she's such an elite defender, whether it's getting steals, whether it's blocking shots, whether it's rebounding, getting the ball out to the outlet pass to allow their guards to play in transition. She's a vital piece for Houston. And when she's on the floor, they're undoubtedly a better team. But just overall, I mean, And I love how Coach Huey right now is speaking to existence that March 9th, they want to be in that conference tournament because they're aware that they have to win the conference tournament to make the NCAA tournament. So I like that manifestation and building that confidence that, hey, we got to keep taking it a game at a time. But our ultimate goal is getting to that conference championship game, winning it, and going to the NCAA tournament. And undoubtedly, I think that win against South Florida bodes really well for their confidence overall as a team. I don't think they're not confident. I just think it solidifies for them as a team that they can beat some of the best teams in the country and even in this conference. Because South Florida, 4 of their losses outside of Houston all came to ranked teams within the top 25. And so South Florida is a good team. I think it solidifies for Houston that they are a good team. And if they play the brand of basketball that they played against South Florida, they can not only win the rest of this conference, but win the conference tournament and get into the NCAA tournament and actually make some noise because they have the talent. They just got to put it all together and be more consistent overall as a team.
Yeah, like you said, specifically about Ron Huey's comments, he didn't shy away that they're living the present. They're not they're not overseeing their current opponents, but this is very well a team that they want to get to the American Athletic Conference championship game, which, like you said, will be March 9th. That's the date they have circled. That's their ultimate goal. And I think I completely agree with what you said about that win over South Florida. It's the biggest win of the season. It certainly is much more from a moral and a mental standpoint. Hopefully it provides a boost for them. Like you said, they're a really good matchup. It seems like in the 2 outings against South Florida, they can not only compete with them, but it just seems like overall, it's just an overall good matchup for them against South Florida, which the past few seasons in the American Athletic Conference since UConn left, they've kind of transitioned to be that kind of powerhouse in the American Athletic Conference. And now where really, you look at the landscape, I think SMU could be one team that potentially throws a wrinkle in the Houston Cougars' plans. Not only are they one of the teams that have beat Houston this season, but they went up there and they gave South Florida problems as well. But when you look at it, specifically for Ron Huey in his tenure, it's all about making the NCAA tournament. And in order for them to do so, they have to win the American Athletic Conference tournament and really steal that bid from South Florida, because if they don't, I don't see them being able to get in as an at-large bid.
No, South Florida is solidified. They're locked in. I think they're going to get in, but like you said, Houston has to win the tournament to get a bid. And so I think they're aware of that. I love how Coach Huey is I don't want to say monetizing because he's not making money off of it, but to be speaking into existence, to
he's not shying away from it.
Yeah, I was just about to say, not shying away from it, actually manifesting it by talking into it. And then when you manifest it with words, you put it together with the actions like you did against South Florida. Now you get to believe, and you're like, okay, we can really do this. Let's keep going. Let's keep putting in the work. Let's keep doing. Because I watched Layla's post-game interview with Chris Gardner on the Houston Round Ball Review. Make sure you guys check that out. And Layla was not only happy for her performance, but happy for her teammates and the way that they were able to perform. And she knows how important it is for them to continue to put in the work to get to where they want to go. And she also said, in which I wholeheartedly believe this, when we go on the floor, we believe that we are the better team. We haven't had the best results that we would want, but ultimately we can compete with anyone. And I think they can do that. They just have to be more consistent overall as a team.
Absolutely, and a big shout out to Layla Blair. Like we said, she played a key role in that victory over South Florida. She rightfully received awards for the American Athletic Conference tournament, and it certainly seems like you said, Da'Yon, in the last few weeks, she's kind of starting to hit her stride heading into March, which is exactly what you want from a Houston Cougars perspective.